Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another episode of B is for Build. Guys, the builds are back. We've got the Mustang here, the single seater over there, the Jumpicon there, the Burntacon there. They've all made it back fresh off the truck from LS Fest, only 2 weeks too late, but hey, they're home. So in today's episode, we're gonna start off with a quick rundown of the game plan on all the different things, since a lot of things have kind of moved around. We got news on our big old diesel truck. We've got some news on that. And then we're gonna get to work on the Mustang. We're gonna do something new today that we've never done before, which is gonna be on a budget, 3D scanning the entire car. People have been 3D scanning cars to design on them, work on them, iterate, create custom parts for years and years and years, but usually it's a very, very expensive process, and I think technology has now gotten us to a point where the cost has gone down significantly to where this is something that is worthwhile to do at home for DIY builders. Scan the car, bring that into the software, modify it in the software, make sure you like the look of it before you build it out in the real world. That's exactly what we're gonna do in today's episode. On a budget, 3D scan the car, design the wide body kit before we start fabricating it. That's the game plan. Stay tuned. All right guys, I apologize about wearing sunglasses inside. I have what I think David Freiberger calls a case of Terminator eye. I scratched my cornea a while back, and I'm a contacts wearer, and in the middle of the night, 2 nights ago, I rubbed my eye, and I haven't really been able to see for the last 2 days. No, anyways, it's in the process of healing up. It's kind of red and looks a little weird, so I got the glasses on to protect you guys. I've got some great news on the Ramortron 5000. Actually, it's the 3500. Anywho, I really like this truck from the second we bought it, although we then found catastrophic frame damage. We were trying to rebuild it in a hurry to be able to get our cars back. Weren't able to do that. Now that we have more time though, I did mention that, hey, if we take the time, we can actually properly repair this truck. But the one thing we needed was a new frame section, and a viewer reached out to me that is not too far away. He's only like 3.5 hours away and has his front frame section for this truck. I'm a big fan of, like, when fate pushes you in a direction, just go with it. Ride the river down the river. So we're gonna ride the river, we're gonna replace the frame section in this truck, and then we're gonna do a full truck build. Now, this isn't gonna just jump in and override everything. We bought this as a spur of the moment to try and save something else. It didn't work out, but so now it's like on our list of things to do. Don't know exactly when we're gonna get to it. I would love to have it for this summer to be able to tow my drift car around to go to drifting events and stuff like that. So we will get to it as soon as we do, but we have some really cool plans for this, and this truck will be a Ram 3500 dually back on the road, full towing spec for us to have for using for camping, for towing, for heavy duty work. And we are not going to take the engine out and put it in the RX-7. I have decided the RX-7 will stay Dorito powered. Well, it'll become Dorito powered. Burntacon's back home. It did some cool drag racing out at LS Fest. It needs to go to Florida. Yes, we're gonna take it to Florida. Yes, we're gonna continue working on it to improve it. We need to improve on the tune. And one big thing Cletus wanted to see us get was a better tire setup. So we're actually working with Holly, well, I don't know how much more I can say about that, but we're working with Holly to get a much better wheel and tire setup so we can run a slick with a bead lock. But our primary focus is continuing on the Mustang. We know that you guys like to see us build builds from beginning to end, and that is what we are trying to do as much as possible here. So we're back on the Mustang. It's time to get the wide body kit figured out so we can start finishing out all of the body panels and get this thing into paint. So we're gonna scan this thing on a budget. 3D scanning a vehicle on a budget, how do we do it? This 3D scanner right here is called a Fareoh point, and it's the pop model. I saw this on Kickstarter a few years back. I bought it really wanting to be able to 3D scan vehicles, and it sat around for a while. I paid retail for this, so I obviously will not pull any punches on the reviews. I never do. So this is that's a 3D scanner. That is a little model that came in the package. I don't have little sculptures of old men normally in my property. Anyways, it came in the packaging, I promise. And this was our first attempt at a 3D scan. And you can see we actually got a pretty correct model created. This is a 3D model now that we could digitally modify using the 3D scanner. Just kind of walked around this guy like that. So that's our first attempt at it. Really, we're just really hoping that this thing and mixed with the computer and everything can handle something as large as the car. So I think I'm gonna have Oscar follow me around with the laptop on an extension cable. It's unfortunate they don't give you a long enough cable for the scanner. Whoops, and now it's broken. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and try and start scanning the entire car. If I could scan it even in sections, I know I could easily put the sections together in the 3D software, but let's try and scan half of a car. We'll probably basically, yeah, let's scan like from the back over here, middle, and work our way all the way around. All right, guys, we tried our best. We gave this a solid hour and a half of work, research, more testing and trying, and let me tell you, this is basically a scam. I told you I wouldn't pull any punches. Screw this company. If you want to, if the reason it comes with a little statue is because that's the only thing it is good enough to scan. Like, it's, you put this on a little like Lazy Susan and spin it around in front of the scanner, cool, you'll get a good little statue thing. So if you want to scan like maybe little things you 3D printed or something, I don't know why, because you already have a 3D model of it. This thing is just garbage. This is garbage. This is garbage. I would break this right now, but I don't know. I'll give it to Goodwill instead. It's garbage. We watched a YouTube video of their company explaining how they scanned a car, and in the end, the car was like all skewed out of proportion. The whole back end, we could see just from looking at it on the screen, like they did not get a proper 3D scan, and he had to scan it in like 9 different sections. So I bought this when it was on Kickstarter, and they had promised, yeah, you can scan cars, and it can't scan cars. So yeah, it's safe to say I'm a little disappointed. I'll continue to look at the market, so I'll go find, maybe do some research and find something that's maybe a little bit more expensive that does the job properly. But there is a tool that most people actually have access to that does the job good enough. It's the old iPhone. I think this is a 12. Anybody know a lot about the phone models? I think this is a 12 Pro. Oscar, you got the 13 Pro, and it has the ability to, I'm not sure if it's just iPhones with 3 cameras on them or what model, but I believe it is called the LiDAR 3D scanning. You think it's that dot, huh?
I saw somewhere that... Yeah.
Okay, guys, yeah, check the features on the website before, if you're gonna go buy one of these. So I use this thing called the 3D Scanner app because I saw somebody else on YouTube using it, and it works very, very well. So let me go in here, and we're gonna go LiDAR Advanced. Here's the settings that I use that work on cars. Confidence, go low confidence. Distance, probably scan, say a meter, only a meter away, so we're going to be really close to the car. Do no masking, and then this is important. This is the accuracy that you're trying to achieve. 5mm accuracy is going to be what you want to do. Then you pretty simply get close to your car, and you're going to see the parts light up. And then now we're going purple, which means we're scanning. It doesn't do great on rubber. Different surfaces are going to do better than others. So you might see some issues with, say, scanning the tire or something like that. But as we walk through this vehicle, glass is always a really hard one for any LiDAR 3D scanning system. But anyways, it's pretty cool. It is a fun tool. You can scan rooms to create, like, I don't know, maps and video games if you wanted to. You can do a lot of fun stuff. I'm not really advertising for the iPhone right now. I don't know why I'm talking about it like this, but I did find a you know, mediocre amount of enjoyment just using it for not work purposes. But the slower that you move through this thing, the more steady you're going to be. It's going to help the thing keep track of where it is in the world and make a more accurate 3D model. See how that bumper is shiny? That, well, you guys can't see. So the rear bumper has a lot of shine to it. Made it really hard to pick it up here in the app, and it actually kind of fumbled on a little spot of this. Now, you do not want to jump into the engine bay like I'm doing right here. It's just, it might crash the app. If you see the app crash, it just means you overloaded the hell out of it. See how we're kind of missing the rest of the model that we just had earlier? I think we might have overloaded it, but anyways, I'll stop right here, and you can see we've got a pretty good representation of the side of our car. I guess I didn't do, I'm not sure if I did a textured scan or not. We've got 2 million faces and 1 million vertices, so it's a very, very large 3D model. But phones are so fast these days that they can handle it like no problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and then, so this is the processing of the scan, and so I'm gonna hit start, and I'll show you guys what this looks like when it's done. So here's our 3D scan now represented on the phone, and I just wanted to show you guys how I export these things. So you hit share. I like to do OBJ is like the only format that I've found for exporting onto the computer that works well and brings the textures with it. Let me show you on the laptop then how that turns out. So this is a scan that we did yesterday. This is not actually today's scan, but they're pretty similar. This we took a little bit more time with. Once you get into the software, it looks a little bit more messy. I'm not really sure why that is, and that's something that maybe people at home could play with and learn more about. This software is called 3D Studio Max. I get that question asked all the time. It's 3D Studio Max. It's really good for creative development. It's not great for engineering and building like down to the millimeter precise, like say if you're going to build control arms and stuff like that. You wouldn't want to use this, but for creative design and trying to figure out like maybe how you want your wide body kit to look, this is the perfect software. So I'm going to head home to a faster computer with a keyboard and a mouse, and we'll start building our wide body kit. All right, quick time lapse of the work process. So I pulled off the textured model, so it's just clay. It's a little bit easier for me to see. Aligned the model, mirrored it, make sure the car is looking good with two sides, just mirrored the two sides. And now I'm going in and I'm deleting the original wheel and tire and putting a smaller wheel and tire on there. That's my overall goal, is to get a smaller wheel and tire onto the vehicle. So we're just throwing some smaller ones. Those are stock GTR, R35 GTR wheels. So I'm just deleting some of the polygons that represented the old wheel and tire combo and sticking the new ones on there with an estimated amount of stick out, with the estimated amount of alignment. Now I'm jumping into making the wide body, and I just wanted to start with the most simple wide body that I really know, which is flat edge going around the wheel, and then just a perfectly even flare out where it just flares straight towards the vehicle in a perfectly even way. And I started looking at this and I really liked the way that it looked, mirrored it onto the front as well. And yeah, I like the look of this, so that was a pretty easy wide body kit design, but that's how I would go about it. If I didn't like the look of it, I would keep working with it, but I know that a flare like this is probably the easiest flare to not only construct by hand, but I know a company that makes them, which is Clinched. A lot of you guys have mentioned Clinched before, sent me links to their website and stuff like that. They make great universal over fenders, and I saw a bunch on their website in all sorts of sizes. And that made me think, man, this could be a good way to do this, so I don't have to hand build everything out of steel for these. And I can guarantee they're all going to be all like uniform and perfect. All right, so that brings us back to the Mustang. Now the Clinched flares come in a lot of different sizes. I've talked about this earlier when we fit this front wheel on here. This is a front wheel with no spacer, and I hate the amount of stick out that we have. I think it's too much because the car quickly dives back in over in this section, and then we have almost a full tire sticking out. And there is no good design that I've ever seen in the world that handles that section properly. I think the back is fine and it looks pretty cool, but the front is way too much. So what we want to do is we have our options of the Clinched flares, and they come in a lot of different sizes. So what I want to do now is figure out how much wheel poke out do we actually want on this build, and then set it all right, and then we can order the right flares for the amount of stick out that we have. On the fronts, I think our Konigs that we got for this thing is a Konig Hypergram 10.5 inch wide wheel, and it's an 18-inch wheel. Will fit just fine. I think they're going to clear the calipers, and I think they'll clear the control arms, so let's go ahead and get that one on there first, and then we'll see if we can make the back one fit. Oh my headless models get in my way. We'll see if we can make the back one fit. All right, so the front wheel and tire, this combo 18-inch wheel, so we went down from a 20-inch wheel, so we could get a lot meatier of a tire. I think a meaty tire looks really good on a more classic car. I think a lot of you guys agree too from what I've seen in the comments. So looking at the width here, it's still very wide off the car, but it's not nearly as much as we were with this other one. I think it brings us in about an inch, inch and a half. Now the back will not fit. We ran into this problem late in the game, right before we headed off to LS Fest. We really wanted to take this thing out drifting. These were originally our drifting wheels and tires, and we couldn't fit our 18s on here at all. So we were just stuck with our 20s that actually came on the car with the original tires that came on the car too. Let's go ahead and see. When the last time we test fit one of these on here, it went on there, but then it wouldn't spin because it was missing by like a millimeter, and it actually took a chunk out of the wheel. So what we're gonna do is get it on here, see where it's hitting, and maybe if we can just sand a millimeter off. I know it's the lower control arm, so you can see that thing protruding at the bottom there. That's the lower control arm, and it's just like one bolt that's coming out of there. And if we can shave the head of that bolt down by 1 millimeter, which you know is not very much, it won't affect anything really, and then we'll be able to fit our wheel on here and everything will be happy. That's the goal. So we're going to try and modify it so we can fit an 18 barrel. Test fit went really well on the 18 on the rear when we pulled out a tiny little part on the lower control arm that is a grease fitting. The little thing, does Oscar have it over here? This little guy threads in over here, greases over here. Not happy. It sticks out too much. So in this car, we're gonna have to grease it up, and then we got a set plug. gonna set plug them. Where would the grease go anyways?
I mean, once it's jammed in there, it's nowhere to go.
Exactly. That's how we do it. All right, we got our 18-inch wheel on the back. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. I think you're really gonna like the 18s over the 20s. Everybody always says, you know, the meteor tire look, which I 100% agree, especially on a classic car. I think 18s just look better. Got it fitting nicely now that we have that grease zerk back. This car is a really interesting, it's a square setup, and the Mustang actually tapers in a little bit in the front, so the front wheel sticks out a little bit more than the rear. So we have a lot of spacers around here because we were originally gonna run lots of wideness. So I probably will put like a 1-inch spacer to make the rear kind of stick out as much as the front does, or maybe even a little bit more, not really sure. But I do like the look of it, and I think that's good. It's a new day, and I was able to email back and forth with Clinched, and we are gonna next day me 2 different sets that we can try out, pick the best one, and we'll send them the other set back. So thanks to Clinched for helping us out with this build project. I'm really excited when those things come in. I'm not exactly sure. So in the next episode, we're probably gonna be building out this back end. So we have like the rear trunk, the rear glass has to turn into a hatch, which is gonna be really interesting. I'll probably try and just button up any of the other body things that we need to have buttoned up before we can start moving into paint. Oh, we also have all the fun Shelby accessories to go on, the GT500 stuff. So you got like the scoops that go here and the scoops that go down there. Lots of good stuff. A little bit of a short episode this time. We're still kind of getting on our feet after getting all the builds back, but thankfully they're back, and thanks to everybody that offered to help out. And we'll see you guys on that next one. Peace!